Welcome to 9 Bob Note with Paul Isles-Rush and Ken Moss.
Hi everybody, this is 9 Bob Note. I'm Paul Isles-Rush.
I'm Ken Moss.
I'm Simon Exton.
And I'm Alan Fogg.
Welcome aboard, guys.
They're back. They've crept in.
Through the back
hi,
door.
Simon and Alan. And
Behave.
It starts. Simon and Alan, as you're the guest, it's over to you to pick the topic of conversation.
What have you got for us, boys?
Well, now there's a question. Celebration of Pride in the NHS. It's a celebration of the LGBT staff and patients of the NHS. And they sent me a PowerPoint thing that is so covered in rainbows, it kind of looks like a leprechaun threw up over it.
The rainbows that they nicked.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was going to
rainbow.
And I don't really know what to think about it, to be honest. And it's unusual for me not to have an opinion on things.
I'm going to mark this as a red letter day. I've never known
Rainbow
this
letter day, please. I mean, on the one hand, I quite like people taking pride in the thing that I work for. I'm quite proud of it myself. But it just seems another... This is a successful gay thing that we are going to nick. See also the flag.
Is there an NHS, like LGBT society, if you will?
Well, the problem is that there's no real one thing that's the NHS. It's broken down into individual trusts that are pretty much separate entities. So there is a LGBTQ group at the trust I used to work for, so the big main one in Stoke that I'm still associated with. But there isn't one at the little trust that I work for at the moment. They do have a podcast, though.
Yes, I have tuned into their podcast to see what all the fuss is about, and
Quite.
It needs a little work.
It's almost as if they've got other things to be doing with their time.
I can prescribe a course of professionalism. Anyway, so let's move on to discuss the... I feel underqualified to discuss this. I need the gays to chip in and give me something to feed on here because it's... Oh, for heaven's sake, he's back. There's a definite Fogg snigger.
And I sent you the PowerPoint about this, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
So what do you think?
Me personally, I think it's laudable. It's just a little bit worthy. And I'm not entirely sure. It's almost as if lesbians and gays in the NHS are sort of a new thing that's never been addressed before. And you've all been this repressed minority. Having never worked in the NHS, I don't know how true that is.
I mean, I've worked in the NHS for a lot of years, and it's not something I have ever found anywhere that I've worked.
Pride. I was going to say they've sent it out a bit late after Pride. Is it an afterthought?
No, this month is Pride Month.
Oh, I thought it was previous month. Or is it just a rolling thing now?
No. The previous Pride was cancelled because of the little pandemic thing that we've got going on.
Oh, yes.
You may have heard of it. So it's being redone in London. It's this Saturday, isn't it? It's the 11th.
Yes, it is. Yeah, London Pride. A splendid
I
ale.
thought it was a previous month. Well, I can tell you what. Virgin Media, they have a designated team site for LGBTQ. I can never pronounce it correctly, but basically they have a designated team site. We have a monthly get-together and coffee in the Natter. We get loads of merchandise posted out to us. I've got T-shirts and various other camp things that some of them were retained and some of them went to your work. It's a general get-together and like-minded people and a bit of double entendre banter in our work because they're quite liberal from that view. Do I think more of the organisation because they do it? I think it helps keep the awareness there, particularly at the moment with the pronouns thing that we talked about before. We actually had somebody on there who was following the pronouns and was referred to as they, and it was good to have that sort of understanding. So, yeah, I personally, from a corporate world, go with it.
I think possibly part of it is I don't really know who this is aimed at. So if it's aimed purely at the LGBTQ workers of the NHS, then that's fine. But I don't think it is. I think they're aiming for a wider audience.
So we can get involved as outsiders.
Yeah, I think so. I've only actually read the PowerPoint once and then forwarded it on.
It read to me as if it had been written by somebody who wasn't actually gay. It was... It was sort of, now we've got these LGBTQ people and they're going to come out and play with us for a while and be nice to them. Now, again, I'm viewing this through a different prism to you guys. It was almost as if you were this new breed of people that, again, unless I'm just being really disingenuous here, it just seems to be trying a little bit too hard to be. I don't know. It's not a bad thing. It's. I think any event like this, it's got to be a good thing. But
I agree with you that it comes across that it was written for a non-LGBTQ audience to sort of join in and show support and allyship and all that sort of thing. The bloke behind it is a bloke called Michael, what's his name?
McIntyre.
Michael Brady, who is very gay. He was the first government advisor on LGBT issues. I think he's a very political proponent of Dr. Michael Brady as opposed to anything else. And the way he's involved himself in politics is as LGBTQ liaison to the NHS.
You've never mentioned it. Have you ever found in your entire career any sort of problem with being a gay man?
In the NHS?
Yeah. I didn't think so, no.
What do they do where you work, Paul? What happens?
We have a national organisation called PRISM. And
oops,
yeah, but and very similar to what you said, Alan. We have get-togethers and things like that. We've recently between June and August we had a 3-month Pride season, which was generally just an excuse to avoid work. Where we had 4 events a week for 3 months, which I think tells you more about our workload than anything else. But it was a mixture of events. We had things where we were trying to raise awareness. So there was a guy on my team who is HIV positive. He did a presentation about that and about how, acceptance and coming out as HIV positive. But then we had a few, like a film club one and things like that. And it was just a chance for people to dial in, but it was open to gays and non-gays as well.
Did you allow us in?
Consorts.
You were allowed in,
Champions,
as long as you
consorts,
stayed on
yes.
mute.
What about you, Alan? How's your workplace in those terms?
Pretty much as described. It's really quite open and out there, to put it blunt, in terms of the various events, and some very senior directors championing the cause is probably a bit extreme. They don't deem it as that, more just the awareness. So they are very supportive, and it's the first organisation where I'm sort of joining into a group like that because there is no prejudice because of it.
That's really good. Our big boss, a guy called Jim Harrah, is a gay man. And he is really, into championing it. I also think he's the civil service diversity champion as well, which is always good to have a middle-aged white man in such a role. But I think it's getting better where we work as well. We all wear rainbow lanyards so that people know who the gays are, and so for target practice, I assume. I don't know.
Do the straights get those lanyards as well then?
They can if they want, although they've just rebranded them. So now they have one with a letter A on to show that they're not gay, they just support us.
They're an ally.
They're an ally, yeah.
Oh.
Previously, we all had the same.
That's
one,
odd.
Now we've been segregated.
Isn't this going...
That's really quite old school, that, I would have thought.
It is, and there was a vote. There was a vote about it, and I voted against it. I was like, why do we need to do this? But...
Isn't that flying directly in the face of everything that you were saying about pronouns, about not singling people out?
Yes, it is.
Clinging onto this as I am by my fingernails. Yeah, that sounds a very strange thing to do. I live in East Lancashire. We don't have gays. They've been eradicated as a species in the whole of this sector of the county. So the room is clean.
Yes.
We don't need to worry about these things.
And all of our lanyards across our entire trust are rainbow.
But you have a special rainbow flag, and also your NHS politician leader. Lapel pin, don't you?
I do. He shouldn't have. But it's now just regarded as an NHS symbol. It's not regarded as the LGBTQ flag.
Because it hasn't got the black or brown streak, whichever colour's been added to it. Because people don't really know about that, do they? Well, clearly I don't know. I can't remember what colour was added to it. Wasn't it brown?
Black
There's
and
a black,
brown.
a brown, a blue, a pink and a white, to the chevrons.
Yeah.
Last time we discussed this, I didn't particularly think that the rainbow was an NHS thing. In the intervening time, it's become hideously apparent that that is now what the majority of the public see it as. So it must be very frustrating for all the gays.
Yes, and now the NHS are trying to steal pride as well.
Well, we've had, as will be in a tonic screwdriver, we've had the Ginbo gay pride NHS gin.
Doesn't say anything about gay. It is all about, it's all about the rainbow flag for the NHS.
Simon, it's the gayest thing I've ever fucking seen. It's turquoise, for God's sake. And
More gay than Simon.
Simon dials up and down the gay when it suits.
Oh, he does, yeah. Rocky Horror Picture Show, that'll camp anybody.
How rude. And that is the point of it.
So, drilling this right down, it's time to decide, feather or not, this is an issue. And Simon, since you brought this up, do you want to give us your appraisal?
You see, the problem is that I still don't know what it's really intended to achieve, and who it's intended to appeal to. And because that's really not clear, I can't see it as particularly important. So I think it's a 1.
Gosh.
Because I don't really understand what it's all about. And I work for the NHS.
So for me, I'll go 3 mid-road. I'm presuming we're scoring out of 5.
Out of 5, yeah.
Yeah, it's mid-road. It's one for awareness, but it's not going to shake the whole of the NHS up and change a lot of people's lives.
I'm going to give it a 2 because I don't think it's an inherently bad thing. I think it's a bit of a misfire in what it's attempting to do. From what I could see from the PowerPoint presentation and the email, it seems a little bit sort of nebulous in what it's actually trying to achieve. And I don't think it's really going to ripple out beyond a handful of people within the NHS that actually read it and take note of the thing. So, Paul?
Yeah, I'd agree too. I suppose it's a nice idea if you can actually find out what the idea was. It'd be a nice idea, quite badly executed, and it does seem a little bit like, well, we've stolen the rainbow, and so we're going to steal pride as well. What next?
What has been sort of usurped, because the protest ribbons, which were a very visible AIDS awareness thing, there is now a protest ribbon for every damn thing you can think of. And I don't think it's a bad thing to raise awareness for cancer. I mean, cancer's the one I wear on my lanyard, but
well, there's a forget-me-not for Alzheimer's and that sort of thing. But
that's the point that I'm coming on to. If you're going to try and raise awareness for something, then come out with a memorable symbol that does that. And the Alzheimer's forget-me-not is a perfect example of that. It's quite lazy marketing to just think, oh, there's this great thing that the AIDS people have. We'll just slap a different colour on it, and that can be ours. Try to work out what each individual support ribbon actually supports. And you've got with the cancer ones, there's a pink and there's a lavender and there's a lilac, all of which mean different things. And it's like back in the day trying to work out the hanky code and what the hell is duck egg blue.
It's time to turn on the TV and see Screening Queens. Simon, it's your choice this week. What are we watching? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Are there no gay doctors? Flying
Hello?
doctors? Hello. Screen gay doctors. There's got to be one.
Actually, not that we've actually watched, because we don't tend to watch television. We just watch DVDs. Oh, he's found one.
Oh.
I know what we're going to go with in thinking about gay doctors. Strictly Come Dancing and Dr. Range.
Nice.
Whole new area of ignorance.
You know who Dr. Range is?
Not a clue. Is he a judge?
No, he was a contestant. He's a TV
No, that was
doctor.
Judge Grinder.
Oh, he was on there as well, wasn't he?
He was, yes. No, Dr. Ranch, he's either an A&E consultant or a consultant paediatrician in London, but he's all over the telly. He does Good Morning Britain and all those sort of things. He's one of their bring on a photogenic doctor when they need somebody to talk about who actually knows what he's talking about. I mean, it used to be Christian Jasson before they realised that he actually had no clue.
Is he the one with the lopsided face
Yeah.
on Embarrassing Bodies?
Yes. And actually, Embarrassing Bodies is quite fun to watch if you actually know the medicine, because the live things that he did, he always had his two assistants. There was Dawn and Pixie, and they'd be in the background. And he'd start answering a question, and every so often he'd suddenly shut up and let one of the others answer. And when they come out with their answer, it's actually exactly the opposite of what he'd started saying. Because he's a doctor, he's a qualified doctor, and he did the minimum amount of time possible to get a full registration license before he came out of hospital medicine. So he's fair play to him for that. Got all the way through medical school, which is no easy thing to do. But he doesn't really have any specialist knowledge, and he's kind of fallen off the radar because he made the mistake of trying to argue with Arlene Foster.
Yeah.
Oh, the Irish.
Yeah.
Not
took him to
the
court
Strictly Come Dancing judge.
for defamation. And I think he ended up having to pay about
145,000.
Yeah, it was a massive
He said
amount.
she had an affair, which she had.
Somebody had an affair with Arlene Foster.
I think that's why the judge didn't believe.
You heard it here second.
So yeah, Strictly Come Dancing, and particularly with Dr. Range, and he was very, very entertaining on it. He wasn't the best dancer on there. He wasn't in any way the worst. He was absolutely the most enthusiastic. He threw himself into it, heart, soul, and sequins.
Well, food for thought there.
Indeed.
So bon appetit.
And on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Simon and Alan, for joining us. And I'm sure it won't be the last
Good
time.
to catch up.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Nine Bob Note featured Paul Isles Rush and Ken Moss. Title music was by Mark Shyman, and the programme was produced by Maverick Productions. For more information, please visit maverickproductionsuk.blogspot.com or find us on social media.